The UK state pension, will it actually exist when you retire? Right, here's a question that should genuinely keep you up at night. The UK state pension currently costs the government over £110 billion a year. The number of pensioners is growing faster than the number of workers paying in. So, will there actually be a state pension left when it's your turn to retire? Let's get into it. Because I see this question everywhere. In the comments on this channel, on Reddit, in group chats. Younger people, especially people in their 20s, 30s, even 40s, have this nagging feeling that they're paying national insurance contributions every single month into a system that just won't be there for them. And honestly, I get why people feel that way. When you look at some of the numbers, it's pretty unsettling. But here's the thing. The reality is more nuanced than the doom and gloom headlines suggest. And actually, understanding what's really going on puts you in a much stronger position to plan your finances properly. So today we're going to break down how the state pension actually works, what the real threats to it are, what's probably going to change, and most importantly, what you should actually be doing about it right now, regardless of your age. Let's start with the basics, because I think a lot of people misunderstand how the state pension is funded. A lot of us picture it like a savings account, right? You pay in your national insurance over your working life, the government puts it in a big pot somewhere, and then when you retire they hand it back to you. That is not how it works. Not even close. The state pension is paid out of current taxation. So the national insurance you're paying right now, this month, that's going straight out the door to pay for your mum's pension, your granddad's pension, your retired neighbor's pension. It's a pay-as-you-go system. There is no giant pot of money sitting in a vault with your name on it. Never has been. And this is important to understand because it means the state pension doesn't go bankrupt in the traditional sense. It's not like a company pension scheme that can run out of money. As long as the government can collect taxes, it can technically pay pensions. The question is really about affordability and political will. And that's where things get interesting. So let's talk about the pressure the system is under. And yeah, it is under pressure. Serious pressure. The big issue is demographics. People are living longer, which is brilliant, genuinely great news, but it means they're claiming the state pension for longer. Back when the state pension was introduced in 1948, the average bloke who reached 65 could expect to live maybe another 13 years. Today? It's closer to 19 or 20. That's a lot more years of pension payments. At the same time, birth rates have been falling. So you've got a growing number of retirees being supported by a relatively shrinking pool of working-age people paying tax. Right now there are roughly 3 working-age adults for every pensioner. By 2050, that ratio could drop to around 2 to 1. You don't need to be a maths genius to see the problem there. And then there's the triple lock. You've heard of the triple lock, right? It's the promise that the state pension rises every year by whichever is highest, inflation, average earnings growth, or 2.5%. It was introduced back in 2010, and on paper it sounds fantastic for pensioners. And it has been. The full new state pension is now over £11,500 a year, and thanks to the triple lock it's been rising pretty quickly. But the triple lock is eye-wateringly expensive. The Office for Budget Responsibility has warned that if it's kept in place indefinitely, spending on the state pension could hit something like 8% of GDP by the 2070s. For context, it's currently around 4.8%. That's a massive increase. And every chancellor, regardless of party, looks at those numbers and quietly panics. So, given all of that, is the state pension actually going to disappear? No. And I want to be really clear about this. No serious economist, no credible policy thinker, no political party of any color is proposing scrapping the state pension. It is the single largest item of government spending. It affects millions of voters. Getting rid of it would be political suicide of the highest order. It's not happening. But, and this is a big but, it is almost certainly going to change. And some of those changes might mean it's worth less to you than you're currently expecting. So let's talk about what's likely to happen. First, the state pension age is going up. It's already risen to 66 and it's legislated to go to 67 by 2028. The government's own reviews have suggested it could reach 68 in the late 2030s or 2040s, and honestly, if you're in your 20s or 30s right now, I would not be shocked if you're looking at a state pension age of 69 or even 70 by the time you get there. Nobody wants to say it out loud, but the direction of travel is crystal clear. Second, the triple lock is probably not going to survive in its current form forever. It nearly got suspended during COVID. Remember when average earnings spiked because of the furlough scheme and they brought in a temporary double lock instead? That was a preview. I would expect at some point in the next decade or so the triple lock gets quietly replaced with something less generous. Maybe earnings plus 1%. Maybe a smoothed average. Something that still protects pensioners from poverty but doesn't have such a runaway cost. Third, and this one's a bit more speculative, there's a chance that means testing gets introduced in some form. That means if you've got substantial private pension savings or other income, you might get a reduced state pension. Now, this would be hugely controversial, and it would actually discourage people from saving privately, which is the opposite of what the government wants. So I think full means testing is unlikely. But some kind of taper for very wealthy retirees? I wouldn't rule it out entirely in 30 or 40 years' time. And fourth, there's the real value of the pension to think about. Even if the state pension technically still exists and even if it still rises every year, there's a question of whether it'll actually be enough to live on. Right now, the full new state pension of £11,500 odd is below what most people would consider a comfortable retirement income. The Pensions and Lifetime Savings Association reckons you need about £31,300 a year for a moderate retirement as a single person. The state pension covers barely a third of that. So here's the honest summary of where we are. The state pension will almost certainly still exist when you retire. But you'll probably have to wait longer to get it. It might not rise as generously as it does now. And it was never going to be enough to live well on by itself anyway. Which brings us to the really important bit. What should you actually do about all this? Number 1, and I cannot stress this enough, do not use the uncertainty around the state pension as an excuse to do nothing. I see people say things like, well, if the state pension won't be there for me, what's the point of saving? That logic is completely backwards. If anything, the uncertainty is the strongest possible argument for building your own retirement savings. Number 2, check your national insurance record. You can do this on the gov.uk website, takes about 10 minutes. You need 35 qualifying years of national insurance contributions to get the full new state pension. If you've got gaps, maybe you were self-employed, or living abroad, or out of work for a period, you can often buy back missing years through voluntary contributions. And right now that is an absolute bargain. You can pay around £800 to fill a missing year, which could add over £300 a year to your state pension for life. That's a ridiculously good return, especially if you're within a few years of retirement. But the deadline to fill older gaps keeps getting extended and then extended again. Don't assume it'll always be available. Number 3, make the most of your workplace pension. Since auto-enrollment came in, most employees are putting in at least 5% of their qualifying earnings, with their employer adding at least 3%. That is free money from your employer plus tax relief from the government. If you can afford to increase your contributions even slightly, the compound growth over decades is genuinely life-changing. And if you're self-employed, you don't get auto-enrolled, so you need to sort this yourself. A SIPP is usually the way to go. Number 4, consider a lifetime ISA if you're under 40. You can put in up to £4,000 a year and the government adds a 25% bonus on top. You can use it for your first home or for retirement after 60. It's not perfect, there's a penalty if you withdraw early for other reasons, but that 25% bonus is hard to ignore. And number 5, just have a plan. Seriously. Even a rough one. Think about when you want to retire, what kind of lifestyle you want, and work backwards from there. The state pension should be part of your plan. It's likely to be there in some form and it's a useful foundation, but it should not be the whole plan. It was never designed to be. Look, I know retirement feels like a million years away for a lot of you. And I know it's hard to prioritize something so distant when the cost of living is squeezing you right now, when rent is astronomical, when energy bills have been through the roof. I get it. But every single pound you put away now has decades to grow. Time is genuinely your greatest asset when it comes to retirement planning. And the people who end up with comfortable retirements aren't the ones who earned the most, they're the ones who started earliest. So, to answer the question in the title, will the state pension exist when you retire? Almost certainly yes, in some form. But it'll probably look different. You'll probably wait longer for it. And it won't be enough on its own. The good news? You have the power to do something about that right now. Today. Even if it's just checking your NI record or bumping up your workplace pension by 1%. Small steps, massive difference over time. If this video was useful, do me a favor and hit subscribe. We put out new videos every week on exactly this kind of stuff, helping you make smarter decisions with your money. Drop a comment below and tell me, are you worried about the state pension? Have you started planning for retirement, or does it still feel too far away? I genuinely want to know. And if you want to know exactly how much you'll need to retire comfortably in the UK, I've done a full breakdown video on that. It should be popping up on screen right now. Go watch that next. I'll see you there.